Once upon a time, in a big village called Ofort, there was a great king named Ophilli. King Ophilli was very wise and kind. Everyone in the village loved him because he always knew the right things to do. King Ophilli had 14 children, and they were all very smart, just like him. But his first children, the twins named Adama and Adaeze, were different. Adama and Adaeze were very pretty, but they were also very foolish. They didn't know when to talk and when to be quiet. They always caused trouble in the village. The people of Ofort would see them and shake their heads, hoping their children wouldn't be like the twins. King Ophilli loved all his children, but he was very worried about Adama and Adaeze. He wanted them to be good and wise, but they were always doing silly things. The king hoped one day they would change and become better. In the village, everyone respected King Ophilli because he was a great leader. He ruled the village with wisdom and made sure everyone was happy. But with Adama and Adaeze always causing trouble, the king had a lot to worry about. He kept thinking, how can I make my twins behave better? King Ophilli's heart was heavy because he wanted the best for his children. He hoped that one day Adama and Adaeze would learn to be wise and kind, just like him. And so, the story of the wise King Ophilli and his foolish twins began. Adama and Adaeze loved to laugh and make fun of others. They thought everything was a game. One sunny day, they were walking through the village when they saw an old woman. The old woman was tying her firewood together, working hard under the hot sun. Adama and Adaeze whispered to each other and giggled. They walked up to the old woman and pretended to help her. But instead of helping, they untied the firewood and scattered it all around. The old woman cried out, "Oh no, my firewood!" Adama and Adaeze just laughed and laughed. They thought it was so funny to see the old woman upset. The old woman, with tears in her eyes, tried to gather her firewood again. A kind passerby saw what happened and helped the old woman. The old woman was very sad and decided to go to the palace to complain. She told King Ophilli what his daughters had done. King Ophilli was very upset. He called Adama and Adaeze, but they were nowhere to be found. They were off causing more trouble somewhere else. King Ophilli apologized to the old woman. "I am very sorry for what my daughters did," he said. "Please accept these gifts as a token of my apology." The king gave the old woman some food and a maid to help her with her chores. The old woman thanked the king and went back home. King Ophilli was very worried. Why can't my daughters be good, he thought. He hoped that one day Adama and Adaeze would learn to be kind and helpful. But for now, they continued with their foolish ways. Adama and Adaeze were walking back to the palace after causing trouble with the old woman. As they walked, they saw Chief Koro's dog lying peacefully in front of his house. The dog was known to be very fierce and protective. Adama whispered to Adaeze, "Let's throw stones at the dog and see what happens." Adaeze giggled and picked up a few stones. She started throwing them at the dog, hitting it on the back. The dog barked loudly and stood up, looking very angry. Adama and Adaeze laughed even harder. "Look, he's getting mad," Adama said, laughing. But then the dog started running towards them, barking and showing its sharp teeth. The twins got scared and started running as fast as they could, but the dog was too quick. It caught up with them and bit Adama on the arm. Adaeze tried to help her sister, but she got scratched on her leg. Adama and Adaeze screamed and cried. They finally managed to escape from the dog and ran all the way back to the palace. their clothes torn, and blood dripping from Adama's arm. When they arrived at the palace, the guards saw them and quickly took them to the king. "What happened to you?" King Ophilli asked, worried. The twins, still crying, told their father about the dog. King Ophilli called for the palace healer to treat their wounds. But even after this scary experience, Adama and Adaeze did not learn their lesson. They continued to be foolish and cause trouble wherever they went. King Ophilli was very sad. He hoped that one day something would make his daughters understand the importance of being kind and wise. But for now, the twins remained as troublesome as ever. One day, Adama and Adaeze were wandering around the village looking for something to do. They saw a masquerade dancing and singing in the village square. The masquerade wore colorful clothes and a big mask, and it was very important to the village people. Adama and Adaeze, always looking for trouble, decided to play a trick on the masquerade. "Let's throw stones at it and see what happens," Adama suggested. Adaeze giggled and picked up a few stones. They both started throwing the stones at the masquerade. The masquerade stopped dancing and looked around, very angry. "Who is throwing stones at me?" it shouted. Adama and Adaeze laughed and threw more stones. The masquerade got even angrier and started chasing them with its whip. The twins ran as fast as they could, but the masquerade was fast too. It caught up with them and whipped them on their legs and arms. Adama and Adaeze in pain, but they kept running until they were far away from the masquerade. The palace guards, who had been looking for the twins, saw them running and crying. They took the twins back to the palace and treated their wounds. King Ophilli was very upset when he heard what had happened. "Why do you keep causing trouble?" he asked his daughters. But Adama and Adaeze just looked down and didn't answer. They didn't feel sorry for what they had done. Even after being chased and whipped by the masquerade, the twins didn't learn their lesson. They continued to be foolish and mischievous, causing trouble wherever they went. King Ophilli's heart was heavy with worry. He hoped that one day Adama and Adaeze would understand the importance of being good and kind. But for now, the twins remained as troublesome as ever. One day, King Ophilli called Adama and Adaeze to his throne room. He looked at his daughters with a serious face. "Adama, Adaeze, you are grown now," he said. "It is time for you to find husbands and start your own families." The twins giggled and whispered to each other. They didn't take their father's words seriously. "We don't need husbands," Adama said. "We are happy just the way we are," Adaeze added. King Ophilli sighed deeply. "You need to understand that being married is important," he told them. "It will help you grow and become responsible. You cannot continue to be foolish forever." But Adama and Adaeze just laughed and ignored their father's advice. They thought they were too beautiful to worry about such things. "We will find husbands when we want to," they said to each other. In the village, many young men admired the twins' beauty. They thought Adama and Adaeze were very pretty. But when they saw how foolish and troublesome the twins were, they stayed away. No one wanted to marry someone who caused so much trouble. The men would talk among themselves, saying, "Adama and Adaeze are beautiful, but they are not wise. We need wives who will help us build a happy home." And so, even though the twins were lovely to look at, no one came forward to ask for their hand in marriage. King Ophilli was very worried. He wanted his daughters to be happy and have good lives. But as long as they continued to be foolish, it seemed that no man would want to marry them. The king hoped that one day Adama and Adaeze would understand the importance of being kind, wise, and responsible. But for now, the twins continued to laugh and play, not caring about their future. One day, King Ophilli announced that important guests would be visiting the palace. He told everyone, "We must all behave well and show respect to our guests. It is very important." The palace was very busy. Everyone was cleaning and cooking to prepare for the guests. Adama and Adaeze were also told to behave, but they just rolled their eyes and didn't listen. When the guests arrived, the palace looked beautiful. The king welcomed them warmly and everything was going smoothly. But Adama and Adaeze, with their foolishness, started running around the palace. They were laughing loudly and playing games, not caring about the guests. As they ran, they knocked over a big tray of food. The delicious dishes spilled all over the floor and even onto the guests' clothes. The guests looked surprised and upset. King Ophilli felt very embarrassed. He hurried over and apologized. "I am very sorry for my daughter's behavior." He turned to Adama and Adaeze and said, "You must apologize to our guests." But Adama and Adaeze refused. "Why should we apologize? They came to our house," they said, still laughing. They didn't feel sorry at all. The king was very disappointed. He had hoped his daughters would understand the importance of behaving well and showing respect. But Adama and Adaeze just continued to be foolish. The guests, seeing how the twins behaved, were not happy. They left the palace early, feeling upset and disrespected. King Ophilli watched them leave, his heart heavy with disappointment. He called Adama and Adaeze once more. "Your behavior today was very bad," he told them. "You must learn to be kind and respectful, or you will never find happiness." But the twins didn't listen. They just shrugged and walked away, not caring about their father's words. King Ophilli hoped that one day something would make them understand the importance of being good and wise. But for now, the twins remained as troublesome as ever. One day, Adama and Adaeze were playing near the market when they overheard some people talking about the river spirit, Ije. "Ije is very powerful," one woman said. "She blesses people and brings them good fortune." Adama's eyes sparkled with mischief. "Let's go see this river spirit," she whispered to Adaeze. Adaeze giggled and agreed. They decided to go to the river and call out to Ije, even though it was against the village custom to call her, except on special market days. The twins made their way to the river. They stood at the bank and began shouting, "Ije! Ije! Come out and see us." They laughed loudly, thinking it was all a game. After a while, the water started to ripple, and a beautiful figure emerged. It was Ije, the river spirit. She had long flowing hair and wore a shimmering dress made of water and light. But her eyes were closed, and she looked very calm. Adama and Adaeze didn't show any respect. Instead, they began to mock Ije. "Why are your eyes closed? Are you afraid to look at us?" Adama jeered. "You must be too ugly to be a spirit," Adaeze added, laughing. Ije remained calm and asked, "Why have you called me and disturbed my rest?" Adama smirked and said, "No one talks to a princess with their eyes closed. Open your eyes." Adaeze picked up a stone and threw it at Ije, hitting her on the head. The twins laughed even harder, thinking they were very clever. But Ije was not amused. She shook her head and her eyes flashed open, filled with anger. "You have shown me great disrespect," she said, in a voice that echoed like thunder. "For your foolishness, I curse you both. You will laugh forever, unable to stop no matter what." With that, EJ vanished back into the river, leaving the twins standing there, suddenly unable to stop laughing. Their laughter echoed through the air, wild and uncontrollable. Back at the palace, everyone was worried. They couldn't find Adama and Adaeze. When someone suggested checking the river, the guards hurried there and found the twins laughing strangely, unable to stop. The guards brought them back to the palace. King Ophilli and everyone else looked at the twins with pity. Their laughter was loud and eerie, and it didn't sound happy at all. At the palace, the sound of Adama and Adaeze's laughter filled the air. But it was not happy laughter. It was wild and uncontrollable. The twins laughed and laughed, unable to stop. The palace was worried and filled with sorrow. King Ophilli was deeply troubled. He called the chief priest to the palace to find out what could be done. The chief priest arrived and consulted the oracle. He closed his eyes and chanted, seeking answers from the gods. After a long moment, the chief priest opened his eyes and said, "The gods are very angry. EJ, the river spirit, will not accept any apology unless a great sacrifice is made." The king's heart sank. "What kind of sacrifice?" he asked. The chief priest looked very serious. "EJ demands a sacrifice of someone carrying the blood of the twins," he said. "Only then will she lift the curse." After the chief priest declares that a sacrifice is needed, a few village elders whisper among themselves. They have always wondered why the twins are so different from the other children. One elder, named Elder Obina, suggests investigating the past for any secrets. The palace was filled with whispers and worried looks. The king's other children were scared, and the palace servants were sad. The chief priest continued, "The twins have brought this upon themselves with their foolishness. The gods and IJ are very angry." King Ophilli was heartbroken. He loved all his children and did not want to lose any of them. But he knew that without the sacrifice, Adama and Adaeze would be cursed to laugh forever, never finding peace. The king called his family together and explained what needed to be done. Tears filled everyone's eyes. The twins, still laughing uncontrollably, could not understand the seriousness of the situation. King Ophilli's heart was heavy with sorrow and worry. He hoped that somehow, some way, they could find a solution that would save his daughters and lift the curse without losing anyone. But for now, the sound of the unending laughter echoed through the palace, a constant reminder of the trouble caused by Adama and Adaeze's foolishness. The palace was still filled with the eerie sound of Adama and Adaeze's uncontrollable laughter. King Ophilli, deeply troubled, called the chief priest again to find another solution. The chief priest, with a solemn look, said, "The gods demand a greater sacrifice. Someone who shares the blood of the twins must be offered to appease EJ." The king's heart sank. Offering one of his children was a painful thought, but he knew he had to do whatever it took to save his daughters. After much thought and sorrow, he decided to offer his youngest child, a sweet and innocent boy. While preparing for the sacrifice of the king's youngest child, the elders continued their investigation. They find an old shaman who reveals that King Ophilli used Adama and Adaeze in a secret ritual to gain the throne. The shaman explains, King Ophilli used the twins in a secret ritual to gain the throne. This ritual made them foolish and mischievous as a side effect. The spirits demanded a sacrifice, and the king offered his own children. The elders were all shocked to hear this, but they had to keep quiet just so the sacrifice will be completed successfully. On the day of the sacrifice, the people gathered by the riverbank once more, this time with heavy hearts. The young child was brought forward, and the priest began the ceremony, praying and pleading for Aje's forgiveness. But just as they were about to complete the ritual, the river began to ripple, and Aje's spirit emerged once more. She looked at the child and then at the king. "I will not accept this sacrifice," Aje said firmly. "The true lesson must be learned by Adama and Adaeze themselves. They must understand the value of humility and kindness." The crowd was silent, waiting for Aje's judgment. She continued, "The twins must marry the poorest men in the village. They must go without any gifts or dowries, and they must learn to live humbly. Only then will the curse be lifted." King Ophilli, filled with relief and sorrow, agreed to Aje's demands. He turned to his daughters and said, "This is the only way to stop your laughter and find peace." Adama and Adaeze, still laughing, were brought to the poorest men in the village. These men were kind, but had very little. The twins, despite their beauty, had to accept this fate. Aje, the river spirit, had told them that their wedding ceremony must be a simple one. There will be no grand celebrations or lavish gifts. The twins must be dressed in plain clothes and married to the poor men. As soon as the vows were made, their laughter would stop. Adama and Adaeze looked around, bewildered and finally silent. For the first time, they realized the gravity of their actions. They saw the pain and trouble they had caused their father, the village, and themselves. Tears filled their eyes as they hugged their father, promising to change and live humbly. King Ophilli, though heartbroken to see his daughters leave the palace, knew it was for the best. He blessed them and hoped they would learn and grow from this experience. The village of Ofort, once filled with the echoes of foolish laughter, was now peaceful. The people saw the change in the twins and felt hopeful. They believed that even the most foolish hearts could learn and grow, given the right lessons and a chance to change. Adama and Adaeze, now free from the curse of laughter, felt a deep sadness in their hearts. They realized that their foolishness and unkindness had brought them to this point. Tears streamed down their faces as they understood the consequences of their actions. With heavy hearts, they packed their things from the palace. They took only what was necessary, leaving behind the luxuries they had once enjoyed. Their new homes were small and simple, but they knew they had to face this new life with humility and grace. On the day of their weddings, the village gathered to witness the simple ceremonies. Adama and Adaeze married the poorest men in the village, kind-hearted men who had little but were willing to share their lives with the twins. As they stood beside their new husbands, Adama and Adaeze made a silent promise to themselves and to the village. They vowed never to be foolish again. They would be kind, respectful, and humble, just as their father had always wanted. Life in their new homes was challenging. They had to work hard every day, helping their husbands with chores and learning to live with less. They cooked, cleaned, and helped in the fields, tasks they had never done before. But through these challenges, they began to grow and change. Adama and Adaeze learned to appreciate the simple things in life. They found joy in small moments, like sharing a meal with their husbands or watching the sunset together. They realized that true happiness didn't come from wealth or luxury, but from love, kindness, and understanding. The village watched as the twins transformed. They were no longer the foolish girls who caused trouble everywhere they went. Instead, they became examples of how people can change and learn from their mistakes. The villagers, once frustrated with the twins, now looked at them with respect and admiration. After the twins packed their things to leave the palace, Elder Obinna stands before the villagers and reveals what they have discovered. He tells everyone about the king's ritual and how it caused the twins' foolishness. The villagers are shocked and angry. The village elders confront King Ophilli with the truth. They decide he must be dethroned for his actions. The villagers agree, and King Ophilli is removed from the throne. The elders appoint a new leader, someone who is wise and fair. King Ophilli, though ashamed, was proud of his daughters. Even though it had been a hard lesson, he was glad to see them grow into better people. He knew that the journey had been difficult, but it had led to a positive change in Adama and Adaeze, even though it cost him his title as the village's king. The village of Ofort returned to peace. The people were happy, and the land prospered. Adama and Adaeze, now living humble and meaningful lives, were a testament to the power of learning from one's mistakes and making a change for the better. And so, the story of the laughing twins, cursed by the river spirit, came to an end. Adama and Adaeze had learned their lesson the hard way, but they emerged stronger and wiser. The village of Ofort would always remember their story as a reminder that true change comes from within and that it's never too late to become a better person. I hope you enjoyed the story. If so, please like the video, comment what you learned from the tale, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more enchanting tales just like this one. Thank you.